Good evening, welcome to Central News for Thursday, the 21st of November. I'm Hilary Entwistle. In today's news, the rate of type 2 diabetes diagnosis in the Bay Plenty has increased by 8% every year in the last 2 years, and some health advocates say this is a ticking time bomb. November is Diabetes Awareness Month, and with the disease affecting over 225,000 people in New Zealand, Tauranga Diabetes Help Tauranga's Jan Lowe says raising awareness is more important than ever.
Diabetes awareness now is so important. It's become epidemic in the 21st century. Diabetes diagnoses have increased by 50% around the world, and here in New Zealand alone we're diagnosing 50 people a day with diabetes. That does not include people that are undiagnosed. So these are only the statistics that we have. In the Waikato, you have over 18,000 people diagnosed with diabetes, and here in Bay of Plenty, it's over 11,000. So it's on the rise.
Cut.
Tauranga Police have confirmed they have new leads from the community about the disappearance of Luana Williams from her Gate Pa home 27 years ago. Police are offering a reward of up to $50,000 for information leading to an arrest in the cold case of the missing 25-year-old. It's the second time a reward has been offered by police for information. In 1994, police offered $20,000 for information leading to the whereabouts of Luana, known by family as Laverne. Detective Inspector Mark Loper says police know that there may be people in the fringe group, not in the main group, who may have information, and they may at this time be willing to part with this information. Mark would not comment on the former police investigation in the months following her disappearance in 1986, which people close to the case have criticised. 2 Katikati men allegedly involved in the inhumane shooting of a goat in 2011 will have the charges against them dropped by the SPCA following a donation to the organisation. Carl Ian Williams and Stephen Frederick Bowman appeared in Tauranga District Court today, jointly charged with 1 count of breaching the Animal Welfare Act. The pair previously pleaded not guilty to the charges that relate to the shooting of a goat captured on a GoPro camera. According to court documents, Williams is charged with encouraging and filming the goat being thrown in the air on May the 11th, 2011, while Bowman is charged with shooting the goat. But today, Crown prosecutors and Tauranga SPCA agreed the charges will be withdrawn on the basis of substantial donation is made to the animal organisation. This is not his first animal-related offence Williams has been charged with. He was earlier sentenced to 4 months community detention for admitting to purposely running down a black swan with a jet boat and causing distress to others on Tauranga Harbour last Boxing Day. Now for our region's weather for Friday. Hamilton, you will have fine spells with a cloud increasing in the evening and an easterly. Your expected high is 25 and an overnight low of 12. Tauranga, your Friday will have fine spells with a cloud increasing in the evening and easterlies too. Your expected high is 23 and an overnight low of 15. Just ahead, the Have a Go Day. Welcome to Central News on TV Central. Disabled and older people are now more able to confidently travel on Waikato's public buses thanks to an event, the Have a Go Day. The day has been organised by CCS Disability Action Waikato and Waikato Regional Council and will be held early next month. Harriet went to talk with Jerry Pomeroy to learn more about the day.
What sort of feedback did you receive after the event last year?
Oh, we had a lot of positive feedback actually. People enjoyed the opportunity to try the buses out without the drivers having to be to a timetabled schedule. So they could practice going up the ramp in their wheelchairs and parking and just figuring out how it worked when they before they used a bus in a real life situation. So, and it also helped with ticketing and stuff, because if you haven't used a bus before or public transport, you don't know how the system works. So it was a good opportunity for disabled and elderly people actually came too, for them to figure out how the system worked, and for the bus drivers to get a better understanding as well of what support disabled people needed to use public transport.
And what made your team decide to run the event again this year?
Because of the impact it had on disabled people's lives. We had people in wheelchairs who'd never used public transport before, and then had the confidence to start using it, first with maybe someone accompanying them, but now they're using it without other people to support them, and they're just going places and doing things, and they're not stuck at home anymore. So that's made a massive difference to their lives, and it's affordable. Public transport is far cheaper than a taxi.
Will this become an annual event?
I think highly likely. The Waikato Regional Council are very keen to do it on a regular basis, maybe even twice a year, because as a demographic group, disabled people rely on public transport. A lot of us don't have independent access to a car, and so public transport is, if you can use it, is the way to get around town.
What are the main concerns or fears that older or disabled people have when it comes to using public transport?
It's confidence, really, because when you're unsure of whether you can access it independently, you're more likely to not try it at all because of that fear of new things. So it's understanding that the bus driver will keep the bus still until you're seated or your wheelchair's parked and you've sorted your walking frame or whatever out. It's also for people with blindness to get comfortable with the audio stop announcements so that they can locate where they are and where they have to get off the bus. So, but the main thing is confidence, and when you have a go day like we are, people have the time to try things out and just orientate themselves to the inside of the bus.
Why do you think it's important for these people to be able to successfully and confidently use public transport?
Well, within the sector, we sometimes say, it's hard for disabled people because they often live lives of social exclusion. If you're not confident that you're going to be accepted by society and that the normal systems will work for you, it's safer to stay at home and not try it. And so we're, in a way, marketing it, if you like, to say to disabled people, you too can have an ordinary life like everybody else. You can get out and go to the shops, in this supermarket, the doctor, go and study, get around, visit your friends, participate in recreational activities. There's all sorts of modes of transport, public transport, footpaths, taxis, but with the buses, it's massive because it's affordable for most people.
What bus companies have you got on board?
Well, GoBus and Pavlovich buses are both going to take a bus off their normal routes, and they're going to make the bus available for 2 hours. So, yeah.
And what will happen on the day?
Well, on the day, it's going to run from 10:30 to 12:30. The buses will be parked in Caro Street, and there'll be usually the manager and a bus driver from each company's available, Waikato Regional Council staff and access coordinators from CCS Disability Action will be there, and to talk people through their concerns, hook them into the groups that we have dealing with barriers in the community, to access in the community. So there'll be lots of opportunities to talk to people, talk to other people with disabilities who will be turning up on the day. It's a great networking opportunity.
So how many buses in Hamilton are currently accessible to elderly or disabled travellers?
Well, it depends on the degree of impairment, but around 95% of the buses in Hamilton are wheelchair accessible, and the Orbiter bus has audio announcements, as does the CBD shuttle for people with visual impairment. So, but the Waikato Regional Council are hoping to have 100% of the bus fleet wheelchair accessible by mid next year at the latest. So yeah, there's been a massive effort from the Regional Council and the bus operators to increase accessibility on public transport, because it's such a great transport option for people with disabilities.
So when is Have a Go Day, and how can we find out more?
Okay, it's on the 3rd of December in Hamilton. It's going to be in Caro Street, which is behind the Hamilton City Council building. It'll be from 10:30 to 12:30, and there's more information about the Have a Go Day on the Busset website.
For more information about the Have a Go Day on the 3rd of December, get in touch with CCS Disability Action Waikato by visiting ccsdisabilityaction.org.nz. Coming up next, Dancing in the Street. Welcome back. Rhythms Dance is a dance school based in Tauranga with a difference. The pupils don't sit exams, they have a big show at the end of the year instead. With over 500 students performing, it's set to be a big event.
Our shows this weekend are called Dança de Circo, so it's a circus theme. It means dance circus in Portuguese. We've got shows on Saturday and Sunday at 1 p.m and 6 p.m at Bethlehem College Theatre. We've got about 500 students performing, so they're doing hip hop, jazz, contemporary and ballet. And then we have like teen specific, adult specific and boy specific classes. So hopefully there's something for everyone, it won't be too boring.
You've decided on a circus theme this year, so why is that?
We just thought it was quite a colourful idea, and that you could get quite artistic with it, and obviously there's a little bit of humour at a circus, so we like dance to be fun and enjoyable. So and it was a good idea for the costuming. It just came quite easily for that. So
You don't do exams in your school, so is this performance the big event for the kids?
yep, absolutely. We do annual performances every year at the end of the year. So rather than working towards exams, we work towards the performance. So that's why we have so many shows over 2 days. Well, there's 4. So the kids get a really good experience at the end of the year. So there's just a lot less pressure than having exams. So it's a little bit more exciting for them when they know that all their family's going to come watch and members of the public. So
What is acro dance?
acro dance is a blend of gymnastics and dance. So it's like gymnastics, but you don't have to do all the apparatus like beams and bar and things like that. So it's all the tricks, so backflips and handsprings and walkovers, and all the girls in the acro dance are really flexible, so we take a lot of time to do that. So if you've been to Cirque du Soleil, it's a lot like that. We're that amazing as well.
What other dance styles do you teach?
Mostly hip hop, but when we say hip hop, it's a wide genre, I guess, and a lot of things kind of fall into that. There's lots of different hip hop styles. So so we also teach contemporary and jazz and ballet.
You started rhythm dance in 2008. What did you initially set out to do?
So initially I was just looking for something fun for my daughter, who at the time would have been 3 or 4, and the dance schools in town were still quite serious and ballet orientated, and I just wanted something a little bit more fun. So I taught at a dance school in Sydney, Australia, that was more fun based. So I just kind of saw a little bit of a niche in the market. And initially I was just there teaching my friends' children and my daughter, and then it just grew quite quickly from there. I think a lot of people are looking for something a little bit more fun based rather than exam based.
And how has the business grown since then?
A lot. So we started off in a little church hall with about 5 of my friends, and now we teach about over 600 students each week. So it's not just me anymore. We have about 6 dance teachers, 2 are full-time and the rest are part-time. So it's quite big. And we've just this year taken on a new business partner, Taryn. So that's been awesome.
You also do classes in school?
Yeah, we teach in schools just like any other extracurricular activity at a school, because because sometimes it's just convenient for parents, and sometimes it's hard for them to get them to classes after school, and it just gives them a little bit of a taste. And the classes that we do at school aren't particularly technical. They're cheaper, so people just get a little bit of a taste. The more students that end up dancing, the better. We think it's good for everyone.
And tell us about the shop you've just opened.
So the shop we've just opened is called NZ Dancewear. It's based at the Historic Village on 17th Ave in Tauranga. We hope to cater for everyone, so we've got some bridesmaid dresses, some flower girl dresses, hip hop stuff, the traditional ballet wear, and even just practice pretty tutus. So we've got a range of shoes. We sell our own shoe brand as well, so it's a lot cheaper than, say, Paul Ride or Block, who we sell also, but you know, some people are just looking for a more affordable brand. Sometimes they don't know whether their child's going to continue dancing for any length of time, so they don't want to spend a fortune on footwear.
Now all you haters stay back, cause it's finna go. When they say I'm off the chain, I'm more like off the meter. I get these girls wet like Aquafina. These other rappers mute, cause they ain't saying nothing. I'm super bad, get more action and make love it. Try to start something. Y'all can never catch me, I'ma hit up in the race, so y'all can never pass me. Get back when I rap fast, cause you backlash when I get past, I'm dead last, I'm an outcast up in my class, and I'm so fast, I'm on top of my game, like my Lazy Nash.
You can get tickets for this weekend's show on the door or from New Zealand Dancewear at the Historic Village. Just ahead, we look at the psychology of addiction. If you have just joined us, welcome to Central News. While many people can achieve a balanced, healthy lifestyle, there is a line where many healthy lifestyles border on obsessions. We brought you the first part of this interview earlier this week. Tonight, Waikato University clinical psychologist Joe Thacker and Harriet Wilson continue to discuss the psychology of addiction.
So why do you think that when it comes to exercise, some people are taking it too far? Where does this desperation come from?
Well, I guess it goes back to a lot of the other things that we've already talked about. So people will take it too far because they want to achieve their goals, they want to look a certain way, or because the activity itself is intrinsically enjoyable. So I guess that they are the sort of fundamental reasons why someone would continue to exercise beyond a point where it might be considered to be healthy. I guess the other thing to keep in mind is that people won't always have an awareness of when something is going too far. So like if someone has anorexia nervosa, they're going to be looking in the mirror and seeing a distorted image of themselves. So they're going to think that they're still overweight. So they'll take it too far because in their minds they haven't actually got to that ideal weight that they've got in their minds. So their image of how they look is really distorted. For other people, you know, sometimes something like going to the gym or exercising becomes, you know, a bit of an obsession, and it's something that you really focus on. It's something that you feel is really important, perhaps as part of your body image. So you might see yourself as a really fit, active person, and so you want to routinely do that in order to maintain that image of yourself.
And do most people know that they have a problem, or do they deny it?
Well, I think there's a variety there. I mean, some people will have an understanding that what they're doing isn't healthy. For other people, they might have an understanding on some level, but it may not be entirely conscious. And some people might just have no awareness of it at all. So I guess, you know, it depends on what are the underlying factors. So for instance, if someone has anorexia nervosa but they haven't been given a diagnosis, and you know, if someone's not going to tell them that perhaps they're looking unhealthy, they'll probably just keep doing it because they won't have that ability to think outside of that situation. They can't see themselves accurately, so they would need someone else to come in and sort of say something, like a family member or someone like that.
What are some ways that people can tell if they are balanced in their exercise habits, or perhaps pushing it too far?
I guess anything that helps you to feel good and stay healthy and isn't particularly intruding on your life is a good thing. So for some people that might be 3 times a week going to the gym. For other people they might feel comfortable going every day, and that might be entirely healthy. I guess the main thing is that they're having sufficient nutrition in order to make that feasible. So as long as you're eating well and you're sleeping well, and the gym itself, you know, the time you're taking out is not intruding on other aspects of your life, then I'd say that there really isn't a problem. But if you are doing extra things on top of that, like for instance taking protein supplements or taking steroids, both of which can be, highly problematic in the long term in terms of your health, and you're doing that coupled with the exercise to achieve your goals, then I think that's really problematic, because you're putting all of this sort of focus into one small aspect of your life, probably to the detriment of other areas.
Are certain types of people more vulnerable to becoming addicted to exercise or other harmful things?
Well, when we talk about addiction, there's some evidence that there are some perhaps biological vulnerabilities. We don't really understand a lot about that, so they have identified a few genes, for instance, in alcoholism, but we don't really know whether those genes are related to a general tendency for addiction, or whether they're specifically related to excessive consumption of alcohol. So at the moment we're in the very early stages of understanding that, but it's probably true to say that there is some biological vulnerability for some people. Also people who have sort of obsessional traits, so people who tend to be obsessive and have obsessions about things would be more vulnerable. So they might find that once they start doing something, they tend to get really hooked in and then keep doing it and not necessarily have a lot of control over how much they do. So I'd say that there are certain vulnerability factors, certain personality factors, and probably also the social context. So for instance, if someone's a ballerina and there's a lot of pressure on them to be super fit and look a certain way, and that's their dream, to get to a high level, then obviously they're going to feel under a lot of pressure to keep doing that. So I think for some people it's sort of the vulnerability coupled with what's going on socially and culturally that sort of comes together in these problems. So it's not really any one thing, it's more, a combination of things that can be important.
So how can people get help or help themselves if they are struggling with these sorts of things?
Well, I guess it depends on the problem. The first thing obviously is sort of identifying that you've got a problem. I guess if that's not possible for the individual, then it's important for family or friends to step in and maybe help that person out. If someone has a diagnosable mental disorder such as body dysmorphic disorder, anorexia nervosa, bulimia nervosa, then obviously they can have access to mental health services. For other conditions, probably like things like just general addiction to exercise, then you would be able to get counselling for that, or psychology, whatever is most suitable or most accessible. But definitely GPs will be able to help with that. So if a person has some concerns about it, they could go to a GP and say, hey, where do you think I should go with this? Like, who would be the right person for me to talk to about it? And they'll be able to point them in the right direction.
For more information, you can contact Dr. Jo Thacker at jthacker@waikato.ac.nz. That is the program for today. Email us or like us on Facebook and let us know if you have any of your own news you would like us to cover. Thanks for joining us. I will be back tomorrow night with more guests from in and around our regions. I'm Hilary Entwistle. Have a lovely evening.
This has been an Alpha Media production, a division of Television Media Group.
Supporting local content so you can see more of New Zealand on air.